Welcome to the Deep Dive. You know how some days you just have maybe something simple like Mike Rowe shoot a lighthearted video with Theo Vaughn, just a regular Tuesday, and then bam, news hit and everything just stopped? That's kind of what happened to Mike Rowe. He had to scrap his whole day because of this really profound and unsettling event. It wasn't just messing up his schedule. It felt bigger than a tear in the fabric. So today, that's our mission. We're going to really try and unpack tragic, sudden murder of Charlie Kirk. We'll look at the immediate shockwaves, how close to it saw it, and who Charlie Kirk really was. All through Mike Rowe's perspective, his public reflection just about the fact. It's a deep dive into something that hit political, maybe even historical weight for a lot of...
Exactly. And that's why this is, so important to look at now. We're digging into some deeply personal, really impactful, trying to understand not just what happened, but, for how we talk to each other, how we see conviction in public life today. You're going to hear about this whole range of emotion. Real shock, deep, great. And that was felt by people who didn't even know Charlie Kirk personally. It's this human reaction to something that felt like more than just a tragedy. It felt bigger.
Let's start right there with that immediate shock, because it really was abrupt and it spread fast. Mike Rowe talked about just instantly shifting gears. He said, I can't put up a conversation with me and Theo Vaughn, not now, not about anything else.
The news was just too big.
Yeah, totally overwhelming. And it wasn't just him. His friend, Theo Vaughn, he didn't really know Kirk well, but he was clearly thrown off. He asked Mike, I don't understand why this hit so hard. And Theo's business partner, Ezra, he saw it even wider, described a whole room of young people just stunned, walking around looking at their shoes, he said.
It paints this picture, doesn't it? This palpable sense of confusion and grief everywhere.
It really does. It's a powerful example of how a tragic event with a public figure can create this shared emotional wave, even if you're miles away. Like my partner, Mary, she'd never met Kirk, but she was apparently very emotional, crying.
Wow.
And for Mike, it wasn't just private sadness. He felt this immediate, public need to say something. He said he had no permission to do anything else.
Right.
He even compared it to how he felt after the Vegas shooting, that deep societal urge to process things like this out loud, even when you feel like you have no agency, as he put it. That ripple effect. It suggests something deeper, right? A connection in the public mind. Yeah, definitely. And building off that really intense personal grief, Mike Rowe's words got, broader pretty quickly. He used really powerful language. He actually said, and I'm quoting him, this wasn't a murder today. This was a political assassination.
Yeah.
That's incredibly strong, provocative even. What does that choice of words tell us about how he and maybe others saw this?
Well, political assassination, that's loaded language, right? It immediately lifts it from just a crime to something with huge societal meaning. And Mike apparently saw a pattern. He compared it straight away to other recent shootings. A healthcare CEO, 2 people in Minnesota. He called those assassinate too.
So he saw it as targeted.
It seems like it, like an intent to silence people because of their roles, their ideas, not just random violence. He put it really symbolically. He said it was like somebody put the Constitution up on a wall and shot the first.
Wow,
That framing suggests this wasn't just about killing a person. For some, it was an attack on free speech itself, on open debate. The target wasn't just Charlie Kirk, but what he, represented.
That image, shooting the First Amendment, that really does stick with you. And it makes you think. Mike mentioned something about Butler about a year before.
Yeah, he did.
Where the country, he said, dodged the bullet literally and figurative. But this time, with Kirk,
they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't. It's such a stark contrast. It really underlines the gravity, that feeling that maybe, just maybe, a line got crossed. So while Mike was grappling with all this, the shock, the political meaning, he also talked about Charlie Kirk, the man. He gave us this really vivid picture moving past the public image.
Yeah.
What did Mike's personal observations tell us about Kirk, especially compared to that image as a strong voice for his side?
Well, it really highlights how different a public figure's platform can be from their personal style. Mike's description was actually quite nuanced. Kirk was known for these passionate, sometimes intense debates, right? But Mike said in person, his debating style was surprisingly gracious. He spoke eloquently and apparently argued more kindly than he did in a lot of his videos. Yeah. He said Kirk never would embarrass his debating opponent. Always polite. Let them speak their... And then, Mike said, he'd destroy them rhetorically and politely.
Wow. Quite the combo.
Right. He even called him a happy sort of warrior, someone who was actually joyful about his cause, even if the videos didn't always show that side. It suggests this guy, driven by conviction, but also someone who respected the actual process of arguing.
And then Mike Rowe dropped something pretty amazing about Kirk's background. It's kind of surprising for someone who became such an articulate public voice.
Oh, absolutely. That was one of the most striking things Mike shared. Charlie Kirk didn't go to college.
Yeah.
That fact alone just flies in the face of a lot of ideas about who gets to be an expert, right?
Totally.
So Kirk, without that traditional degree, he just compensated. He read, as Mike put it, every damn thing he could get his hands on. Mike saw him logging all that info away, and instead of going the usual academic route, he'd go on to college camp to share what he learned, not from college, but from the world. He'd debate them on there, talking confidently about It just shows the power of being self-taught. That you can gain deep knowledge and argue effectively outside
and even engage those institutions.
Exactly, on their ground. Mike really admired that, called him an amazing talent, brilliant with rhetoric.
Yeah.
It really shows that passion and self-study can be incredibly impactful, maybe even more than a fancy...
And that self-education obviously fueled his commitment to debate itself. Disagreement, the exchange of ideas. He genuinely thought it was, quote, the very thing the country was built on. It wasn't just a strategy for him. It was core.
Precisely. And you saw that commitment in his audiences. Mike described them as massive and really diverse. These weren't just echo chambers. People weren't just there to get their own views confirmed.
Right.
Mike said people were there to listen and maybe have their minds changed or maybe have their ideas challenged. Or even if they weren't sure, just to hear people coming from totally opposite directions.
Which feels increasingly rare these days.
It does. Mike saw it as a good thing, a healthy thing, an essential thing for the country. It just reinforces how vital that like that old saying attributed to Voltaire, I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say.
Yeah.
In a time when we're often stuck in our own bubbles, Kirk's approach of actively seeking out opposing views is, well, a powerful reminder.
It also sounds like it took some guts. Mike talked about Kirk going into the lion's den with these big, diverse crowds. He wondered if Kirk was fearless or scared, but then he mentioned this little smirk Kirk would have. Like he was saying, okay, I hear you, but it suggests this real determination, a willingness to engage, even if it was intimidating.
Absolutely. It takes courage to stand your ground like that, especially when you know you might be walking into hostility.
Okay, so stepping back a bit from the personal side, what did Mike Rowe say about the broader meaning of it? He really seemed to capture this widespread kind of uneasy feeling that something is untethered, that something ain't right.
Yeah.
And that it needs to be corrected, addressed. It's this deep sense that something fundamental has shifted. maybe broke.
That feeling of being untethered, that's really significant. It points to this collective anxiety about where we are as a society. Mike himself started thinking. He looked back to 98 MLK, RFK, even 1865, that period of deep division.
Right.
He talked about how we humans tend to think our time is special, nobody's lived through this, or the country's never been this divided.
But history tells a different story.
Exactly. History shows us we've been through times of intense division and upheaval before. Sadly, it's not entirely new, which gives some perspective, maybe. But it's also kind of a stark warning about what can happen if feelings aren't addressed.
He also really emphasized that for him, something bigger than him died today. And there's this real uncertainty about what that actually means going forward. Yeah. He mentioned that in the conversations he was having, just anecdotally, a lot of people are feeling scared. Mm-hmm. And we have to remember, Kirk was so young, only 31.
Yeah, that point about his age, just 31, really magnifies that sense of lost potential, doesn't it? Mike touched on his He even suggested that in just 4 years, Kirk could have run for president.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and that a lot of people might have voted for him. That detail just drives home the feeling that it wasn't just a life cut short. It was a whole trajectory, a potential leader, a powerful voice in the national conversation. Extinguished. It makes that phrase, something bigger than him died today, feel even heavier. It's not just the person, but a possible future that died too.
And despite only meeting him a couple of times, Mike Rowe really considered Charlie Kirk a friend. There was this mutual respect there, it seems. He mentioned Kirk was a big supporter of Microworks, Mike's thing.
Right.
And that Kirk had called him just to say, basically, hey man, I'm doing my thing, and it's easier knowing people like you are doing your thing over there.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it? A genuine connection, even if they didn't line up on everything political. And that personal connection makes Mike's public reaction feel even more raw. He talked about that tough decision with the nasty comments showing up on his Facebook page about Kirk.
Oh, yeah.
He said he wouldn't take them down. He wanted those comments to stand with their names to stand next to them. Saw it as part of the public record, I guess.
Huh, that's a statement.
Yeah, a stark look at the immediate, often polarized public reaction. But beyond that, he also shared his deep condolences for Kirk's wife, Erica, and described it as a grief that can't really brought it back to human cost amidst all the public noise.
And ultimately, Mike Rowe seemed pretty certain about one thing. Charlie Kirk will be remembered for a long time. It's a powerful statement about his impact, both in life and tragically in death. So this whole deep dive into Mike Rowe's reflections, it really leaves you with this profound sense of uncertainty, doesn't it? This feeling that something significant, something unsettling has shifted. Mike's comment that the event doesn't fit neatly onto a shelf just sums it up perfectly. It's complex. It leaves questions hanging. And it forces you, maybe, to confront some uncomfortable things about where we are right.
And thinking about all that, it brings us right back to those core ideas Kirk himself seemed to value so much. The value of debate, the free exchange of ideas, the simple courage it takes to engage with people you disagree with.
Yeah.
And while history gives us context, reminds us we've faced division before, the job of navigating this moment, of upholding those principles, well, that falls to us right now.
Right. It's not just history to observe.
No. It's a call to think about our own roles. How do we help foster So maybe the final thought for you, in a world where the very act passion, when that can be met, what